Hello everyone, it's me Chris again, and I'm back in front of the camera because I've gone and written another book. It's called The Golden Assassin, and this here is the cover. Now for those of you who are aware of my first book, Practical Wizardry, The Golden Assassin is not a continuation of that, and in fact, it takes place in a completely different setting. The new setting, well, doesn't have a name, but essentially the society the protagonists live in is divided into metallic castes, like those Plato proposed in the Republic. Of course, its design has been corrupted from what Plato actually intended, and so instead of gold leaders, silver warriors, and bronze everyone else, it's silver families, with gold patriarchs, bronze households, and then the iron caste, which is treated almost like the caste lists of India. There's more mobility between castes than there is in India's system, or at least compared to how it used to be there, but society is still very much stratified between haves and have-nots. But things are starting to change. The Industrial Revolution is beginning, and money from unskilled factory jobs is starting to make its way into iron neighborhoods. There's also an element of magic in the setting. See, humans who die always come back a few years later as ancestor spirits. And since they can grant magic power to the living, human society reveres its ancestors instead of worshipping gods. They have exemplars, which work essentially like patron saints, and at the head of the pantheon is the Sun Emperor, who is a man who may or may not have actually lived thousands of years ago. Magic also works differently from what you'd probably expect in any other sort of steampunk setting. It does not represent nature, or old traditions, or anything like that, and it's not opposed to technology in any way. Instead, it's limited by things like the conservation of matter, and the magic user's imagination, which itself is limited by how much they know about science and technology. It's also limited because the ancestors demand animal and plant sacrifices in exchange for their powers, and that can get expensive really quickly. The plot itself follows Edward Lau, General Captain of the House Jin Guard. His master, the head of House Jin and Prince of the city-state of Larsby, has been murdered in his own bed, and all the most obvious clues seem to point to his only daughter and heir, Gwendolyn. However, Edward has good reason to believe that Gwendolyn is being framed by someone else in the family, and so the two join forces to discover the real Golden Assassin. Later on, a factory explodes. Edward uses his dead father to cast spells, and there's at least one confrontation in a railway station. Now, don't let me give you the wrong idea. This isn't written like a typical mystery or thriller novel, nor is it much of an adventure or a fantasy epic. If anything, I'd say the strongest themes are about class divisions and family relationships. In a way, I'd say I'm putting the punk back into steampunk, or at least insofar as punk is about class warfare. Think less Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and more Gangs of New York. And all things considered, I'd say it's worth your time to read. And if you get it within 5 days of this video getting published, you can read it for free. After that, the price will be $3.99. And while that's more than what I'm asking for Practical Wizardry, it's still a bargain. The Golden Assassin is over 78,000 words long, which is more than twice the length of my first novel. Oh, and there's one other piece of news. Did you see the bit on the title that said it was part 1 of a trilogy? Well, I've actually built up quite a backlog over the past year and change, and the second book is already finished. I'll be publishing that one next month, just in time for Christmas, hint hint. And so if you like what you read, don't just tell your friends, but come back in 30 days and maybe buy a few extra copies of the sequel for gifts. But if you do like the book, then also do tell your friends. And even if you don't like the book, please leave a review and tell me what you think. I'm already 20,000 words into book number 3, and at this rate, it won't be much longer before this trilogy is complete. thank you for your consideration. And if you send money my way, thank you for your patronage. Farewell, and I hope you enjoy.